Hey everyone, how we doing? Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of the Mimic is releasing in 2 weeks, and guys, I'm excited for it. We got a gameplay trailer that gave us a closer look at the game. A Steam page was released with some more gameplay images. There's a few images that are found in the MCM archives, and a few weeks ago there was a doc interview about Secret of the Mimic with Steel employee Mr. Evan Lampy. So when I mentioned of the interview in this video, and I will multiple times, just know that's what I'm talking about. So let's get into my video about Secret of the Mimic, and talk about what we got, and I'm also gonna put in a couple of theories that I got. Let's go ahead and get into it. First of all, I'm excited for the game's development studio, Steelwool Studios. As you know, Steelwool has been making the mainline FNAF games since Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted, which came out 6 years ago today. Holy crap, happy birthday FNAF Help Wanted. So they've been working on the mainline FNAF games for at least 6 years. However, their second full game, Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, was very buggy at launch, and its story was a little confusing. Now in hindsight, neither of these were their fault. Didn't know the full story when making Security Breach, and they were given a deadline and probably didn't get to finish testing it. Many patches were put in the game to fix it up, and Scott and Steelwool really attempted to paint the story in a better light. But for what it's worth, I think they did a good job on that. Secret of the Mimic looks a lot more polished, and the story of the game sounds a lot more in place. But speaking of the story, let's take a look at the synopsis of the game. Enter the abandoned workshop of Murray's Costume Manor, and unravel the mystery left behind by the reclusive inventor Edwin Murray. In Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of the Mimic, you'll step into a world where every dark corner holds a secret and every flicker of light hints at ever-present threat. The Mimic, a prototype endoskeleton, can adopt to any costume and become any character, including what you fear most. Armed with only your wits, a few gadgets, and a heavily redacted corporate briefing, you'll attempt to retrieve Fazbear's prized prototype technology while grappling with cryptic clues and a relentless shadow determined to dispatch all unwanted company. I really like this story because it feels like a brand new take on FNAF, and I'm here for it. It's kind of ironic how this game feels brand new, yet it's meant to be a prequel to everything that we know. Also, since the Mimic is able to crawl into and adapt to any suit, this literally means that nowhere is safe. I mean, we could end up like going into a room where it's just full of mascot costumes, and we need to hide in one. But we don't know if the Mimic is hiding in one, and if he is, it goes straight to a game over. Since we're on the topic of the story, we gotta talk about one of FNAF's most obscure rabbit holes. First of all, go watch Johnny the Night Guard's a video with that same name, and then come back, because it's a really good video and it goes more in depth about this. Basically, Johnny went down this deep-ass rabbit hole about how the Mimic story is about a cycle of trauma, just like how The Shining is. The story of Edwin lashing out on the Mimic and the Mimic learning violence and killing people is very similar to how in The Shining, Jack has drinking issues and learns violence due to being abused by his father and starts hurting his own family. Now, we don't know how or if this will play a role in solving the Secret of the Mimic lore, but if it does, then great. Also, just a little something that I wanted to show that I thought was kind of interesting. While I was editing this part of the video, I actually found out there was a costume manufacturer in Murray, Utah, that's been around since the late 1970s. This cannot be a coincidence. In the doco interview about Secret of the Mimic, Evan says that the game will be linear, but won't be as linear as Ruin was. I'm gonna go on a slight tangent. To be honest, as much as I like Ruin and how linear it was, I do think it was a little too linear, if that makes sense. Plus its linearity can sometimes lead to things like having to redo parts of it, such as the daycare attendant section. If you miss a generator in the daycare, you need to replay that entire section again because you can't loop back around to them after you pass them. That's just one example of Room being a little too linear. So I'm very happy he describes Secret of the Mimic as less linear. He also goes into how the game will have a golden path where there's a path you're supposed to take, you don't have to follow it. It sounds like that the game will have some secrets and possibly multiple endings. Also on that note, it was said in the interview that the entirety of the Secret of the Mimic map could fit in Roxy Raceway, which is a pretty big area of the Pizzaplex. And the fact that Secret of the Mimic could fit there is a good thing, because the size of the Pizzaplex can be a bit overwhelming. Now let's get into something else I like about the game. I like how it looks. Even though it's been months since the gameplay trailer, that's not a popular opinion. I mean, there are still people talking about how it doesn't look like FNAF. Now that's a totally valid thought. I mean, I thought that too whenever the gameplay trailer first released. But after a few days, it started growing me a bit. Plus, it makes sense that it looks different because it takes place during the Freddy era of FNAF. Honestly, it kinda reminds me of Sister Location because so many areas of that game lack any representation of Freddy Fazbear. Now for something interesting. In the gameplay trailer, we can see a human hand coming out of this elephant costume. That's a friggin' dead body! This is already big because this will be the first time that we see a full 3D rendered human corpse in a Five Nights at Freddy's game. But it could be even bigger if we check the suit and see the body inside the costume. Now this might be a bit of a stretch, but I feel like this could possibly confirm the game might take course over more than one night, because there doesn't seem to be a body in the suit when the Mimic is using it here, though it isn't out of its character to be in the same suit as a dead body. This actually might already be bigger because in the trailer it states that Edwin Murray has gone missing. I think we know what missing means in FNAF by now, but if you're someone who doesn't know what it means, then, well, welcome to Five Nights at Freddy's. Missing almost always means dead. I'm not saying that the body here is Edwin, but can you imagine if we find Edwin inside of a Tiger Rock costume, or if the Mimic is mimicking Edwin or even David to lure us into a room? Well, at the very end of the trailer, we can see a single frame showing a dead body next to a Tiger Rock costume. I think this dead body could be Edwin, and seeing how the Mimic is very close to Tiger Rock, this might be what the Mimic wears at the very end of the game as a type of final boss. I mean, we know we aren't going to destroy the Mimic, we're trying to collect it. Now, after a bit of an investigation, I realized that this game doesn't 100% congruently line up with the Tales from the Pizzaplex books. It kind of follows the origin from the 6th story, but it's also kind of different because Murray's costume maker didn't exist in the books, and the Mimic wasn't made for faster entertainment. Oh, and also in the books, the Mimic didn't have legs in 1979, but it is clearly walking in this trailer. So perhaps there's a chance that this game is deconfirming Tales games completely, but making it so that the Tales books are a similar case to Fazbear Frights in the Silver Eye trilogy, where we can use what's said in them to fill in some blanks. In the interview, it said that Steel was working very carefully with how the other books are being put in the game, and that the books don't contain the entire story of the Mimic. Now let's talk a little about some mechanics that we see being used in the trailer. One seems to be this Faz Wrench type tool that is used to power on this helper terminal, and thanks to the interview, we know this tool is called the Data Diver and has intentional resemblance to the Faz Wrench. Now, because that's similar to the Faz Wrench, if you immediately assume that we'll be playing as Cassie's dad, I think you'd be forgiven because he is associated with the Faz Wrench. However, I'm 100% certain that that's not the case, because if it was Cassie's dad, then he'd be in his 70s or even 80s by the time we get to Help Wanted 2, and he's the father of a 14-ish-year-old girl. And it would also backpedal a lot of the he's the body bully stuff from Help Wanted 2. So yeah, we definitely don't play as Cassie's father. I also know some people believe we'll be playing as Henry, Emily, or William Afton, but at this point in time, they were the higher-ups. They were in charge of Fazbear Entertainment. Why would they send themselves a heavily redacted request to hunt down the Mimic? So that marks them off. So that marks them off the list, which leaves who we'll be playing as a mystery until we play the game, I guess. And on another poster that shown interview, you'll see that the data diver has something to do with where you belong, and has 6 symbols being labeled basic security, repair, creator, admin, and executive. My theory is that these symbols seem to be how employees would get through doors and access different computers. Another thing that gets used is this wind-up mouse toy. Maybe this is supposed to be used as a distraction to sneak past the Mimic. Wait. What the hell is that? Oh, god damn it! Okay, let me explain why I'm worried about this gator. It looks like a country Montgomery gator, right? Well, it could be just that, and it's some character that Edwin made that Fazbear Entertainment didn't utilize for over 50 years, going by Security Breach taking place in 2035, or this has something to do with Andrew. And if you saw my Return to the Pit videos back in January, then you know that I'm not a fan of Andrew being in the FNAF game continuity, because then it breaks some of the old lore of the MCI and undermines Cassidy. Now, like I said, we don't know for sure what this gator means, but in the Mimic story, it mentions Edwin made an alligator animatronic, and this cutout is in Moray's costume manner. I might be overthinking it too much. I might be overthinking. So for now, I'm gonna keep an open mind. Now for the Steam page gameplay images. Image 1 seems to be of another elephant mascot that seems more like an animatronic, because we can see endoskeleton parts. And he looks a little more yellow than gray, so probably not the same character as the mascot costume. Image 2 is the elephant costume in the costume hallway from the trailer with the Mimic inside of it. In Image 3 is this giant older model of Music Man that's been called Maestro Music Man, who appeared at the end of the trailer, breaking through the roof and jump scaring us. In this image, it looks like it's that same thing. He's like reaching his hand down into the room he busted into. Image 4, we can see Jackie poking his head out of a vent, just like the shot from the trailer, and it's got Mimic eyes, so the Mimic's inside of it. Now, when it comes to Jackie crawling around and not having legs, I feel like that's where it brings in some of the Mimic can contort its body. I'm guessing that its legs are probably twisted around its spine or something, while inside of Jackie. Image 5 is a shot from Edwin's office from the trailer, but the monitors are turned on. Not a whole lot to talk about. I do like how we can see the reflection of the back of the monitors in the window. And finally, Image 6 is showing a stage of animatronics that seem to be older models or predecessors of mediocre melodies. These little frogs that look like Happy Frog. This hippo is obviously Mr. Hippo, and hey look, there's that gator again. Assuming and hoping that this is Monty, which seems very likely based on similarities, then damn, he went to the gym a lot over the course of 50 years. I really hope he enjoyed his weight loss journey, only to get his legs taken off by a kid. Now, what about my predictions from back in November? Do they still hold up now? Well, short answer, no, not in the slightest. And my theory about Jackie having the Mimic virus is also crossed off. Speaking of Jackie, it seems like that the major animatronics we'll see in Secret of the Mimic are the Mimic, obviously, Jackie, Dolly, and Maestro Music Man. Looking at Dolly and Music Man, first off, I'm surprised that Music Man was around in 1979 and that big. I mean, why can't he be normal size again like he was in Pizza Sim? As for Dolly, she seems to be like a doctor-style animatronic. Cool. And by the way, I just considered this. Are we gonna be seeing the Mimic outside of a suit in the game? Based on how everything looks, doesn't seem like it, but we never know. Hell, even if we don't, there might still be a model of the Mimic made and put in the suits for the people that like to break the game. Now for the Murray's Costume Manor Archives. The first one, the Stay Up Latte. It's basically an advertisement for a coffee maker, but it's not just an advertisement, it's also got some hidden images. The first one is hard to tell what it is, but it seems to be either a workstation or desk since I can kind of see a chair here. Or maybe it's Jackie's box and the chair is there because no employee was working on Jackie. The other one is much easier to see. It's one of Dolly. Now both these seem to be like camera views of different rooms in the Costume Manor. I should also probably mention that the coffee machine is able to learn what your coffee drinking routine is. The second archive video is about Murray's magic coat rack. Now the magic coat rack is kind of false advertising because it doesn't come with a top hat and magic wand, but it can change its size to adjust to anything you want it to hold. There's no secret camera reflections, but if you listen closely, you can hear some audio behind the advertiser's voice.
The solution is Skull and for you if you're feeling.
All of these sound the same person's voice to me, and it sounds like that he was in a group and he was trying to lead the group away from the Mimic, but ended up getting attacked himself and then ultimately getting killed. So seeing how the Mimic has similarities to the coffee maker and the coat rack, it must mean that whenever Edwin made the Mimic, he must have thought that the features in old Murray Code inventions could be useful in an animatronic, which would also confirm that Murray Code existed a few years before the Costume Manor was in business. Now, since I looked at the posters about the Data Diver, I figured that I should look at the other teaser posters as well. First poster, the Wash Your Hands poster. Now, I see a theory that says that the player character is probably going to get the Skywalker treatment in this game, you know, and get his hand cut off. I don't think that'll happen. I think that this is supposed to just be in reference to the fact that the Mimic is capable of tearing things limb from limb, and in game it will just be used as like a safety warning. The second poster, Broken Bits. This is a poster of Dolly trying to fix the endoskeleton inside the elephant mascot costume, and the endoskeleton is most likely the Mimic. I'm not too sure about what this could mean, but I think it could be showing us that Dolly is able to repair animatronics, and if it is, then we might have to get a study about Edmund, because you have to keep in mind that this game takes place in 1979, and if Dolly is able to just like repair animatronics, then for 1979 that's pretty friggin' huge. So we took a look at a lot in this video. Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of the Mimic releases next month, and I'm very excited to see how the final game looks. Of course, I will not be playing it right off the bat, since I don't have a PS5 or a PC. But the week after Secret of the Mimic releases, Into the Pit's physical copies release, so I'll be picking up its Switch copy and playing it on the channel. Thank you for watching, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you all on the flip side.